Welcome back to Inside Club, and today we're talking about the incoherence between what we want, say, and do, and how that affects our manifestations. Stay tuned.
The first rule of Insight Club is you don't talk about Insight Club. You do Insight Club. The second rule of Insight Club is the only assumptions we make about one another are that we all want happiness and we all want to avoid suffering. The third rule of Insight Club is you check all your other assumptions at the door. We hope these conversations will bring you insights that incite you to action. Welcome to Insight Club. I absolutely love the way you brought this topic when we were voxing about it, and you said manifesting in coherence. And I just love a good pun. I love a play on words, and I know you do too, right? Because there's this deeper wisdom that's revealed when language plays with itself. And so on the one hand, it's how do we manifest in coherence? And on the other hand, it's like the incoherence of manifesting. And so, related, two sides of the same coin, but I think such an important thing to talk about, to remember we're always making reality. And then what do we do that creates a more coherent reality in alignment with where we're like, yeah, this is definitely the direction I'm meant to be going in. And then where do we create, how do we create where it feels incoherent? And I don't just mean from the sense of this is not what I ordered, like trying to return our meal at the restaurant of life. But like in a deeper sense, we go, I feel like I'm creating something that isn't coherent with all the rest of life in the universe and beyond just my egoic desire.
Yes. We always connect through wordplay.
Yeah.
And when we were talking about this, I was thinking, we all say we want to manifest in coherence, but what we end up manifesting multiple times is incoherence.
Yeah. That tiny little space between two words, whether it's there or not.
And what was coming to me now as we were speaking was that you just mentioned the tiny little space. What about the fact that the incoherence happens is because of how fast we want things to happen.
Incoherence is what you get when you don't leave the space between in and coherence. Oh my God, I love it so much. Yeah. Well, so let's talk some about space. I mean, some of that is temporal, I think, right? It's like, I want it and I want it now, like Veruca Salt in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, right? I want it now, Daddy. And some of that is not temporal space. I'm not sure what kind of space it is, but it's like not leaving space for divine creation to be part of what we're manifesting. It's like, I'll just do this. I'll do it all myself, I think, is another way we don't leave space.
Yeah. Not leaving the space to create the coherence on itself.
Oh, say more.
Well, there's this technique that Greg Barden talks quite a lot about, heart brain coherence. There's the Heart Math Institute that talks about this as well, which we basically have three brains, right? We have the physical brain, we have brain cells in our heart, and we have brain cells in our gut.
And don't we actually have more brain cells in the gut than in the actual brain?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what we might think we want this in here. We might feel we want something in here. But our gut is the ruler of everything. And it's where all the fears are stored and all the stories that we have and all the it's the brain that rules our actions before anything else happens. So even if we're thinking, oh, I want this positive thing, if in some level our gut brain feels like it's not safe to have it, or there's some reason that there's misalignment with that, it's not gonna happen. So there's techniques where you what you do is actually just breathe deeply into your heart and your gut to actually feel the alignment of being safe in your own body. And that's where we bring the vision, the feeling of what we want, the desire of what we want. And that space alone, I know this for myself, it's where I can get more aligned in my manifestations, and where I get things that are actually what I want, even if it's not exactly that. And not like those Frankenstein things that where you feel like that was not what I ordered. It's
Yeah,
like
I ordered a tuna salad sandwich and you brought me like a fish eyeball.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You're sparking something for me around the physiology. Have you read Breath by James Nestor?
No.
It's a really interesting one. What's the subtitle? It's like reclaiming the lost art of a new science or something, right? There's an acknowledgement there where he's like, hey, I'm talking about this from a scientific point of view, but this is an ancient spiritual tradition. And what's coming up in particular is he talks about how there's an ideal length of breath, and I think it's 6 seconds, that coordinates your heart as a pump with your lungs as a vacuum. And
Mm.
when you're in that, I'm pretty sure it's 6 second inhale and 6 second exhale, but it might be five. But when you're in that, what happens is, okay, your heart is able to your lungs are able to grab the air in the rhythm that your heart is pumping. And so it's a very efficient way of breathing, and it puts your body into a state of I'm safe because you're actually able to get the breath. The way most of us breathe most of the time is more like 3 seconds, let's say. And what's happening is you're in a continual state of uh, distress because your heart can't grab the oxygen in the rate, like, in because of the shortness of the way your lungs are breathing it in. Your heart is always like, oh my god, I just missed it, as opposed to like, oh, I got it, I got it. And so what he acknowledges is, like, in the Kundalini tradition and all these different traditions, you do these 6 second breaths. Like, there's names for these breaths in so many different traditions. So he's like, I know I'm not telling you something new, but here's the science, right? When you're in that kind of breath, your heart can grab the oxygen it needs in a very chill way. And otherwise, your heart is always like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. let me try to grab what I need to circulate it through the body. And so I find this fascinating, this idea of breathing into the heart, because that's literally what we need. We need to align the breath and the beat of the heart, moving that breath, moving that oxygen throughout the body. Otherwise, we're in a state of distress and like, wow, no wonder then my gut would be sending back the signal. No, 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 no. It's like when you have a super stressful day and you don't poop, right? Your body's like, oh, we don't have time to sit and do that. Like, just, like, all of a sudden it just, like, that
Yeah,
that that urge goes away, right? We're like, oh no, no, we can't make time for that now.
I've been through a cycle of that. So you just touched on, yeah, that's
Oh,
exactly, yeah.
but
And it's not even just heart, it's heart and gut, right?
yeah,
Because most,
yes.
you talked about breath, most people breathe just up here, just barely catching the breath.
Yeah.
And until we actually own our full length of breath that goes down to our belly, and yeah, I know that our lungs are up here and not down there, but when we breathe fully into our lungs, we actually push the diaphragm down, and then we can feel the full length of breath that allows for the three brains to get in coherence. So that's the physiology, the
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason it's
physiological
called a
part of it.
belly breath in
Huh.
so many different yogic traditions, right? It's that expansion. So that, I mean, that element makes complete sense to me that we're, as long as I'm in a sympathetic nervous system response, as long as I'm in like, don't poop, gotta flee or fight. um, how could I be safe to create? And in a similar way, right? When the body is under stress, it stops menstruating because it's sending you the clear signal like it's not, or it's getting the signal, right? It's not safe to create right now. And so
Mm.
like, woof, let's just turn off that function and wait until it's safe to return to it. But what if our whole life is lived in a state that's not safe?
Mm.
Not necessarily literally, but from the point of view of the body.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, how many of our ills are caused just from poor digestion because we're never fully entering a state of rest and digest?
Yeah. Yeah, and then I mentioned to you as well the interplay of that with relationships,
Yeah.
because when we are in that space of pure possibility, 0 point field, all the realities, all the timelines are available right now, it's one thing, right? The moment we collapse the wave and we get either our tuna fish sandwich or the fish eye, um, then things are a little bit more, yeah, we start feeling like we need to work with reality, right? And what I was pondering was like, when, and I want to hear from your perspective as well, how much of the misalignment that happens, I felt, was in the moments where I have something that is close enough, and then I want to work with the reality that is available right here, right now, instead of getting into coherence. So it becomes more of a wanting to control reality instead of wanting to create reality.
Hmm. Yeah. Does an example come to mind for that? Because I think I'm following you, right? Where it's I say, oh, it's good enough, but then I'm trying to contort it and stretch it, um, and bend it out of shape to make it the thing that I originally imagined or wanted. Um,
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna share a recent example. Like, my vision for music was for it to be a way of connecting with something greater as well, and have that spiritual element with the something that makes us connect and dance and like have fun. Not just that, I love making mantras as well, but not just that pure ethereal sacred sound, like kind of putting together the sacred and the profane and everything, and allowing ourselves to experience life fully, right? um and when I started having the opportunities that I had with the band, I felt like this is close enough, but I still feel like I can work with this. We can make it more
mm,
sacred and still have the two things. And I felt like my desire alone wasn't enough to collapse the wave in a way that created something that was profound and yet playful and fun. So it was always on the surface. It was uh, either super happy, super uh, cool, but still like not profound, or if we got a little bit more profound, something would clash, and then I got the eyeball, like you say. Like it couldn't go to that point. It felt like it was always like almost there, but not there.
Mm. That makes a lot of sense. And I'm just reflecting on like the amount of will you've put into that project,
Mm.
right? And maybe that's a sign as well. It's like when we're trying to say like, okay, this is close enough and work with the reality, there's so much of our own force that goes into it, like so much will, and just like, and you got amazing three-dimensional results for the three-dimensional energy you put in, right? But I remember so many times when you just being like, this is a lot of my willpower, where it's like, okay, and now this, and now this, and this. And so maybe that's a good indicator as well, that uh, rather than um, like roll the die again and let it get closer, just like, okay, I got a 1, but I can add in all of my own energy and turn it into a 6.
That's a good analogy.
I'll
Yeah.
just draw the dots on myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, it's like,
Yeah,
maybe just roll again. Yeah.
yeah, and I feel like I rolled the dice again.
Ah.
And yeah, and I got a different version of things, completely different outside of that. And
Mm.
it might not be exactly perfect yet, but I feel like this time I'm less attached to the results. So what happened was a vision that I had a while ago, which was the band playing in how's it called, a yacht, maybe something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Like
Um,
a fancy boat.
a fancy boat. Uh, that did manifested, but not with the band.
Ah.
Yeah. Um, so what happened was I met someone that is in the same group of study as I am, and we ended up doing a workshop in a yacht where she was applying magnetism and I was applying sound healing. So I was singing in the yacht, but it was me, uh, and we're working on that to keep doing it. So that's something that I'm super excited about. And yet I can't. My humanness is still feeling like, well played, God. That wasn't exactly what I wanted, but it's still like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
going into the direction that I want.
Yeah. And I'm very curious. Did it take a lot of will and force to make it happen, or did it happen with more ease?
It is.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
that feels palpably different. I can get close, like I can push and try and try and try so hard and I can get kind of close but still no. Or it can happen with all this ease and you're like, "Oh, okay, that's in the right direction." Like next time I will like mayonnaise on my tuna salad sandwich, but you're 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 getting there. And something that I need to be reminded of myself, but it's easier for me to remind other people of, is when that opportunity comes through, it doesn't have to be like, well, that's the end of it. Was talking with somebody recently about like a job opportunity that came up, and they were excited, but also it was like, I'm not positive this is the right thing. And it's like, remember, this is showing you what's out there. So if this one is out there, it means they're also, and people say this about dating, right? It's like
Yeah.
when that person shows up, it doesn't mean it's either be alone forever or be with this person. That's the message that, hey, there are opportunities available. Um, and
Yeah.
that feels expansive. That feels good.
I had things happening on that side as well. Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
Ah. Um, that's so that's so cool that you had, and I mean, there's something too there about the vision. When we
Mm.
have the vision, that's because the other part of your message was this idea of the egoic wanting um versus some other kind of deeper desire. And when we get these visions, there's a truth to them. There's uh, an obviousness to them. Like, of course that could happen, even at the same time our mind might be going, what, why, that doesn't make sense, how would that even be a thing? um
And
I
then
Yeah, go ahead.
and the magic on that is that the visions are different than the desires, right? It's not like
Yeah.
I wanted so bad for this thing to happen. No, it just pops, and it's more like a, oh, that would be so cool.
I I relate to that as a way of manifesting. And what I can't figure out, what seems strange to me, is that for me, it often comes with almost a like a harumphy kind of, obviously I should have this, almost like a little bit of brattiness.
Yes.
But this happened recently where I so often have this thought, like, I feel like I am the sage or the magi in the tribe.
Mm.
And I'm like, I am not here to farm, guys, right? I'm doing magic, and you should be leaving food at my doorstep. And it's often like it's a thought that can have a little bit of edge to it, like, why isn't this happening? But it's not a it's not an idea manufactured from me. It's something I can see so clearly that's been implanted in me that I'm like, well, obviously that should be the case. And the other day I was eating lunch, and I opened my refrigerator and I pull out this container of Greek salad, and I was like, "Oh, it's so perfect. I have this because I don't have a lot of time to eat lunch, and this is just what I need." And I'm like, "Wait, I didn't make this. My neighbor gave this to me." People literally are bringing food to my doorstep. If I remember to pay attention and see that. And for me, it's like, well, of course they are, because this is a thing that it's so clear to me it should be happening. And it doesn't feel like I need this and I want that and I invented this. Like, it doesn't feel like my solution to it. It feels like a solution that comes from outside of me. And I see it and go, well, yes, let's do it that way. um, and I guess, like, sometimes I'm open to co-manifesting with God for that to happen, and other
Mhm.
times I get into the mode of like, well, no, I've got to work really hard to make things happen, and I fall into incoherence. But I can relate to that difference between I'm designing this and this is the way it needs to be versus the vision implanted.
Yeah. And there's this saying as well, like, uh, when two or more are um, gathered, that's from Yeshua, Jesus. When two or more are gathered in my name, that's where I am, right? And that comes with the same thing with manifestation. You need we need duality to create.
Mm.
And yet that's something that I've been pondering quite a lot because, like we were talking about, when it's us with the void to create something, uh, it feels like there's less friction in the
Yeah.
creation, but it's actually much more powerful to create something when we are creating with someone else. Like we are creating this podcast together, for example, when or when I created this workshop with this friend and another workshop with another friend. Uh, the band on itself as well, like where there's more people creating together, but there's more points of incoherence that can happen when there's more people involved.
Yeah, and I really appreciated the way you described this over Vox, where you said with two people, it's harder not to collapse the waveform,
Yeah.
right? So we were talking about trying to stretch the current reality to make it something new versus rolling the die again, or be like kind of waiting and going, I'll let the waveform keep going and collapse it now, like spinning the spinning the wheel on the game show. But with multiple people and multiple observers, we're more likely to collapse the waveform because there's more people looking. And so on the one hand, yeah, there's this greater possibility, like there's this idea of the whole being greater than the sum of the parts, where you create something in collaboration with somebody and you go, oh my God, I didn't know I had that in me. Did you know you had that in you? And it's like this magic that emerges. But there's also the opportunity for either one of us or both of us or whoever's involved to go, no, now is reality. Now is reality. Um, I had an interesting experience. So many of my lessons come from trying to get customer support, which I find fascinating. I mean, it's a very like modern day thing, and probably also related to just like my own personal journey with getting help and the hangups I have around getting help and the beliefs there, right? Like nobody will help me. So I needed to return something or just exchange it. And the person gets on the phone and like right from the first moment we talk, there's this antagonism, which is just like
Mm.
very clear, not subtle. Like he's being really sarcastic at me and like, well, why didn't you do this? And I get sarcastic at him. I'm like, why are you? And it just devolved into like the most awful interaction. And basically he was like, well, we can't help you and you should have thought of something different. And I was like, you're not helping, right? It was awful. It was just absolutely awful. So I hang up, I call back. I am 87% sure it was the same person.
Of course.
I was like, I'm gonna create a different reality. I was like, hello, here's what I'm trying to do. Here's the problem we might encounter. Do you think you can help me? And he helped me and I got the item exchanged. And I'm just sitting here the whole time like, we together decided to occupy a different branch of reality. Like, that is straight up what happened here. And it's like, what an amazing choice that's always open to me.
I
And
love that. If I get the wrong order, can I just turn off and turn on again?
yes, can I just hit reset?
Hmm.
And so it only took one of us the first time around to create the incoherence, and it only took one of us the second time around to create coherence,
Yeah.
right? Like as soon as I walked into that energy where he was, like determined to tell me it's my fault and I'm going to do something wrong, and that, stirs up all of my wounds about being told I'm doing something wrong. I was like, okay, it's all over. And it just exploded. And as soon as I was determined to be in the role of like, oh, I really need your help. Can you help me? He was like, I could be the helper. Um, and So there, like for me, there it is, right? We can clamp down and say there's no possibility here, or we can create the possibility.
I love how you brought up the fact that you had those feelings of not being helped, not because how many times it's that like we can't receive the thing that we want, so we force like, but I need the help, but I can't receive the help, so I'm gonna like hold on to this reality where nobody helps me the way I need.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna, in fact, become unhelpable in that
Mhm.
scenario. Like, "Oh, you're not helping me? Now I really will be unhelpable." Like, I will become so rude, nobody would ever wanna help me. So
Yeah.
that and that's, that's a really common form of manifestation, this idea of and you mentioned this too, right? Like, the creating exactly the scenario that we're terrified will come about. So it's like we're holding it present, and at the first sign we're not gonna get the thing that we want, we end up creating exactly the thing we're most terrified of.
Yeah.
Why?
That traces back to the fears. You mentioned that those are things that are rooted in like way back in our history. It can be an abandonment wound, it can be a rejection wound, it can be a and and that's why there's that knowledge, right, that the subconscious is the thing ruling the story in the background if we are not aware of it. But even when we're doing our work, there's a lot that's still not in not conscious, not in awareness. So for example, if I'm interested in someone, for example, and I would love if this person would love me too, but I have a fear of rejection or abandonment, I might not say that I'm interested in that person, and then I'm just gonna be like hoping that this person magically feels like he can say something, and then because I have this fear in me, I might even if the person feels something, I might create that incoherence where he feels like he's going to be rejected as well. Does it make sense? Let's
Yeah.
bring in a very clear example.
Yeah.
And it's the same with like, oh, I want, for example, to speak on stage, but I have a fear of what people are going to think of me when I do this. So I'm gonna be blocking myself of having the thing that I want because there's a underlying fear happening uh, behind it.
I I almost wonder if we're misinterpreting a signal too. Like, so there's my unconscious mind that had experiences, actual experiences in this life and previous lives, and in in its knowledge of my ancestral history, and it's like from all different kinds of places, right? It's put together this vision of the world where it's like this happens, we don't get helped, we get abandoned, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And at various points, what if it is pulling out that hypothesis and asking, is this still true? But
Mm.
I'm making the assumption that it is telling me it's still true. In other words, what if my unconscious mind is not such a like a beast? You know? Like it's not such a manipulative gaslighting monster where it's like, "Oh, you can't trust anybody." But what if it's like, "Oh, is this still true? Like I learned this a long time ago. Is it still true?" And so it
Mm.
parades out the experience for me. Is it still true that I cannot receive help? Let's call up customer service, right?
And
And it's up to me to discern and go, which reality do I want, where do I want to collapse the waveform, in which particle reality? I don't know. I'm just kind of tickled by this possibility that instead of my unconscious mind being like, oh, don't do that, you're gonna get hurt again, it's like, hey, knock knock, I remember this time where you did get hurt, is that still true?
I love that idea because it's like bringing back trial tests to
Yes.
see if this is still valid or if we need to change the behavior because things
We
change.
repeat the experiment, do we get a different
Yeah.
outcome or the same outcome?
Yeah. Hey, you're a different person at this point. Let's see what happened now. What will happen now?
That's so helpful because I often go, why now? Like, why did I get that test now? Because especially around customer service, I mean, it's really hilarious how much time I've devoted to thinking about this. Like, I've written stories and stories about it because I've had some really major breakthroughs and lessons. And I was like, oh my God, I solved it. Like, I have reached the pinnacle. And so, then when I had this like totally humiliating experience, because I acted like such a rotten human. I was like, this is the worst version of me that I've seen in a very, very long time. Like this is the most terrible version of me I've seen in a very long time. And so one perspective there is, wow, I really haven't grown and I'm so bummed out because all this progress I thought I made, it turns out no, I'm still really just, this shitty. And another perspective is, like, it's the final exam. You've taken the whole course, you've done
Mm.
really well on all the practica, you've, answered questions in class, the professor's like, "You really get it, you really get it." And then you're gonna have this one final exam not even a final exam, because 'cause I'm sure there's more to come, but it's gonna be like, "Okay, great. You've learned so much, you're ready for a test
Mm.
to apply your knowledge."
Yes.
That feels like a
That
friendlier way to view it.
it's a great way of viewing it. Yeah. And even I one thing that came to me with that was that in these tests, what if we, instead of bringing up our armor, our shield to protect ourselves from being hurt again, we actually feel like, okay, it's all fine no matter what happens, and we embrace whatever is coming. And what if the monster that we created is not that bad?
And if you mess up, you just hang up and call back?
Exactly. Yeah, because it's control, right? We're so attached to the reality that we want to create sometimes that if it doesn't happen, it feels like we were defeated or like I messed up. When there's so much that it's not in our control, like there's more people creating. So if we don't find the person that is creating, we can call another telemarketing operator.
Or the same one, and just we'll both pretend to be different people.
Yes.
Let's pretend that first one didn't happen. Yeah. So,
Mm.
coming back to this idea of manifesting in coherence, um,
What's the
how
title?
can we stop? We talked some about like coming into greater coherence with ourselves and through the breath and allowing the breath to not just be here, but to like run the full length. What can we do to come into greater coherence with other people that we want to create with, whether it's an a specific intention, like running a workshop with somebody, or just daily life interactions. Everybody I'm talking to, I'm creating a reality with that person. um I met a really lovely woman recently, and just in the first few minutes of talking to her, I was like, I feel so much better. And I
Mm.
ended up watching her TEDx talk, in which she talks about her introduction to mindfulness and meditation. Her name is Kim Fuller, and she's a book called Born to Rise. And she's a TEDx talk in which she talks about her introduction to mindfulness and meditation coming from, she's a photographer, and she was at an event where the Dalai Lama was. And she was initially quite frustrated because she'd been assigned this seat, but she's supposed to be taking photos, and I can't, I can only get one angle, and there's people in front of me.
Yeah.
And then the Dalai Lama walks in, and immediately she just feels his love radiating. And I
Mm.
was like, well, that's very cool, because, she had this grand experience with His Holiness. And I was like, and I had a micro experience of that, just being in her presence, right? But there are moments when, and then we just had like a wonderful conversation. And there are moments when we feel that coherence of like, wow, you and I are sitting together and we're choosing to create something like from a really awesome vibrational place.
Mm.
And then there are other times where we step into interaction with people, and it's either kind of bland and flat, or it's actually an agitating, really incoherent kind of interaction. So how to create the first kind?
Well, we were talking about how it can create incoherences when we are creating with people.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to sound to try
Mm.
to explain the way I'm seeing it, and I'm still on tests with that, but still I feel like it's interesting. Um, when there's a resonance between two sounds, uh, the tendency is for it to grow.
Mm.
And when there's opposite frequencies, the tendency is for it to cancel itself, so it doesn't go anywhere. So the thing is creating a resonance. And just like we're talking about, the breath creates a resonance between our three brains. I feel like the thing that creates the most coherence between humans is looking in the eye, like really looking in each other's eyes. So when we are creating something with someone and talking about a project and bringing something special, really being intentional in being present, looking in the eye, like connecting heart to heart, saying whatever things are coming, and not trying to say the thing that we feel like we should be saying to be a certain thing in that moment. I feel that's what creates that resonance, that coherence that allows to humans to create from a place of presence. And there are people
Amazing.
that I can do that, and there are people that I couldn't still. So I feel like it needs two people at least that are open for that.
Well, you've brought us back to something we talked about at the beginning, which is space, because this is how it's making sense to me. In order to create resonance with someone else, I have to have enough space around what my desires and expectations are. Because I can't sync up with somebody else if I'm just a steady stream of, I want this and it needs to go my way. Like
Yeah.
there's a meeting that happens, and I'm, as if we're musicians improvising. and you're playing a riff and I'm like having some space before if we both just start playing at the same time and we don't listen, we won't play. It's like a cacophony, right? But if you start playing something and then I listen, I'm like, oh, I can come in this key, in this rhythm. So it's a listening, which is another way we need space. So we need space when it comes to time, we need space when it comes to like allowing there to be input from source and not just us. And then we need space when it comes to what's already here. Um, what's already here that I can add to or enhance. I don't know, the feeling of space, if we want to manifest in coherence, seems important.
That makes a lot of sense, especially because we need to listen to the spaces as well, not just the feeling the silence.
Listening to the spaces and not just feeling the silence. So listening to the potential.
Yeah.
Like, what's in the wave before we collapse it? What's waiting to be born?
Yeah. What's available before collapsing. Yeah.
Wow. What's your insight of this?
Wow. Uh, uh, there's a lot. That space between the incoherence and the incoherence feels like something that permeated the whole conversation. Yeah, that's a big thing. But also the possibility of using these moments where our unconscious mind says like, oh, let's test if things are still like that, and like seeing this from this perspective and not from why again. That feels like yeah, a big shift.
Yeah, I like that. We just had a huge leak under the kitchen sink. And the first part of that is like, turn off the water and don't turn on the water because it's leaking. But the
Yeah.
second part of it after the fix is turn on the water and it might leak. But this is, you want to be able to see, did the fix take hold? Did the fix
Yeah.
fix it? And the only way to do that is to risk another leak. You turn on the water, you run the garbage disposal, you run the dishwasher, all with the openness, like it might leak, but we have to be able to see it in order to take the next step if we need to take the next step.
Yeah.
Um, my big insight right now is that I actually know exactly how to create space to listen, and I resist doing it.
Mm.
And my insight action is to create more of that space to listen. And the place where it's most obvious to me is listening beyond, is listening into source, so that I'm in a place of trying to go like, well, this is what I've got. Let me try to stretch it to make it work. So, like, can I hop into a different reality? Can I roll the die again? Uh,
Mm.
so my insight action is to just do that practice
Yeah.
uh, on a
Yeah.
regular basis.
I guess my action will be the same because I also know how to listen. And there are times where things are good, like not everything in the way I want, but like good. And then I almost fear messing with the field because like I don't
Mm.
want to take things out of place. But I notice enough times now that when I don't do anything out of the fear of losing what I have in the moment, things turn upside down on its own.
I always find it's easier to listen in the crisis.
Yeah.
Like, that's when I'm tuning in, is when I'm like, "Oh, wow, if, life has exploded and I need help and support." And then the rest of the time, I'm like, "Well, I'll just do this, and I'll just make a plan, and I'll be in control," and end up not where I wanna be.
Yeah.
So, my job is to listen in the regular times beyond the crisis times. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense.
2 days ago, I went back to the messages that I got before I felt like, uh, but I'm not listening to anything. Yeah, because you got the message and you didn't take action on it. So, yeah, it's funny how the universe plays.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
you don't need another step yet. I'm waiting for you to take action on those steps.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I can't wait to hear, more manifestations of you singing on yachts.
Me too.
That sounds
Hmm.
amazing. Mm.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for
Hmm.
this conversation, and thanks everyone listening, and let us know what this
Thank
brings up
you.
for you.
Yeah. And what action you will take.
Yes.
Until
Yes.
next time, take care.
Take care.